Listen and repeat. Speak at the same speed, and copy the rhythm, voice, and emotion. Don't pause the audio, stay with it, even if you miss a word. Let the sentences train your tongue and your mind.
I ran to the store. She didn't notice the letter on the floor. They walked slowly through the dark forest, listening to every sound. He laughed quietly at the old joke. The wind blew through the empty streets, carrying the smell of rain. I found a photo I had forgotten years ago. She opened the box carefully, afraid of what might be inside. We sat on the porch and watched the sun set behind the hills. The dog barked suddenly. I couldn't move for a moment. He repaired the broken fence after hours of hard work. The door creaked when I pushed it open. I turned around slowly, hearing footsteps behind me. They ran across the field, shouting and laughing like children. I dropped my keys in the dark alley. She stared at the painting, lost in thought for a long time. The fire crackled in the fireplace. I opened my journal and started writing everything I remembered. They waited outside in the cold, shivering silently. He carried the heavy box up 3 flights of stairs. The lights went out unexpectedly. She whispered secrets that only I could hear. We crossed the river on the old wooden bridge. I remembered every word she had said that day. The clock struck midnight. He shouted my name from across the street. I walked home alone, feeling the shadows grow longer. She placed the flowers on the grave gently, as if afraid to break them. They discovered a hidden passage under the stairs. I felt a cold breeze touch my neck. The phone rang loudly in the empty room. He closed the book and stared at the wall. I opened the window and let the fresh air in. She ran down the street, chasing the last bus. We stayed in the cabin all night, listening to the storm outside. I picked up the envelope and read it carefully. The cat hissed at the stranger standing in the doorway. He walked slowly, dragging his feet across the dusty floor. I couldn't believe what I saw in the mirror. She called my name softly. They climbed the hill before the first rays of the sun appeared. I tripped on the uneven path and fell hard. The wind howled through the broken windows. He waited for hours, hoping she would come. I noticed the old photograph lying in the corner. She cried quietly, holding the worn-out toy. We ran through the empty streets, heartbeats echoing in the silence. I closed the door and leaned against it, exhausted. The candle flickered in the dark room. He whispered a name I didn't recognize.
I ran through the forest, branches scratching my arms. She closed her eyes and listened to the silence. The old clock ticked slowly in the dark room. He held the letter tightly, afraid someone would see it. We walked along the beach, watching the waves crash against the rocks. I couldn't hear anything over the sound of my own heartbeat. She opened the drawer and found a stack of old photographs. The rain poured down, soaking our clothes completely. He shouted across the field, but no one answered. I noticed the shadow moving behind the tree. They ran to the abandoned house, curiosity pushing them forward. I picked up the old book and flipped through the fragile pages. The candle burned low, casting long shadows on the wall. She whispered something that made me shiver. I walked down the empty street, the echoes of my steps following me. He pressed his hand against the cold window. The fire crackled and sparks flew into the dark air. I couldn't move, frozen with fear. She wrote her thoughts carefully, afraid someone would read them. The wind howled through the broken roof. I opened the door slowly, expecting the worst. They waited for hours, but nobody came. I stumbled on the stairs and fell with a loud thud. He picked up the keys and locked the door behind him. The cat jumped onto the windowsill, staring outside. I followed the faint trail into the dark woods. She laughed quietly, hiding her true emotions. I smelled smoke and ran toward it. The house creaked as the storm shook its foundations. I couldn't recognize the path I had taken. He reached for the light switch, but nothing happened. She held the photograph to her chest and sighed. I listened to the whispers coming from the hallway. They ran through the abandoned school, hearts pounding. I tripped over a loose stone and fell hard. The rain soaked through my clothes within minutes. She touched the old wooden table, remembering the past. I opened the window and felt the cold wind on my face. He sat quietly, staring at the floor. The shadows danced across the walls, alive with movement. I ran toward the sound of the door slamming. She found a hidden key under the carpet. The stairs groaned under every step I took. I tried to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. He leaned against the wall, exhausted and tense. I saw a faint light flickering in the distance. She closed her eyes and prayed silently. I picked up the broken toy from the floor. The room smelled of damp wood and old paper. He walked slowly, each step echoing in the empty hall.